Hello and welcome to Knife Delights. This is part 7 of the overview of my buck knife collection. And as you can see, one of my favorite patterns is before us. We're going to be focusing on my fixed blade collection, the traditional hunting knife style fixed blade collection. Now, this is the Buck 102 Woodsman, and yes, I have 5 of them. Now, I did a video several months ago where I did some comparisons on 3 of the 102s, and since then I've picked up 2 more of them. So yeah, this is one of my favorite patterns. I don't know why. I'm sure there's some Freudian explanation having to do with my childhood or something. I don't know, but this pattern just fascinates me. So we're going to start on the left here, and this is probably the closest to a production model that I have, the standard production. However, this one was made between 1967 and 1972. I believe that the blade steel back then, I believe Buck used 440C. The handle material here is what they call phenolic. It's a very, very tough handle material, and they use this on their production fixed blade knives. There are a lot of differences between this old style and the newer style. And again, in that other video I did doing the comparisons on the 102, I went over some of the differences. But one difference is the end down here on the old style knives. They're bigger and blockier and wider. You can kind of see the difference. So there has been some slight changes and modifications over the year. Another one, if I remember right, is this is kind of more of a thumb ramp right here, where this is more of a 90-degree angle over here. So yeah, there are some differences other than just the blade steel. Another interesting feature on this one here, again made between 67 and 72, is it is a 2-line tang stamp, and as you can see, the stamp is inverted. And on the newer ones, let's see, where's a better example? Here's a better example here. On these newer ones here, you can see there's a 3-line tang stamp, and you read it as you hold it this way. So to read this one, you have to turn it upside down. So little difference in the tang stamps. Also, again, 2-line. It does not have the model number. It does not have the 102 on it or any kind of a date symbol on it. So other than that, the differences in these knives are somewhat cosmetic, although there is some differences in blade steel. So again, this one I believe was 440C. That's what was Buck was using back then. This knife here was made in 1998, and it has a Cocobolo handle. And you can see the difference. This has Cocobolo too, but you can see, when you're using natural materials, even though it's the same material, they kind of turn out differently. The other difference is, on this one, it has the brass pommel and guard, and this one has the stainless steel. Now this one from 98 would have the standard 420 HC with the Boz heat treatment to it. Just a beautiful knife. Next up, this one is red canvas micarta, and it was made in 2019, and it has S30V steel. So I can get that in there right. Can you see that? There we go. Sorry, I'm dealing with lighting here. I can't get the lighting just right. And I know some other channels are complaining about that too, that it's tough when you got shiny instruments here. If you have the light coming straight down on it, then everything's too shiny. And so doing the best I can here. Hopefully you can read that stuff. So again, this is the red canvas micarta made in 2019, and it has a S30V steel. I believe this to be something out of the custom shop, or it was a limited edition. I got this off of Copper and Clad. So Copper and Clad has a habit of you know, doing some custom knives through the Buck shop. So I don't know if Buck ever offered this or not. Just a gorgeous knife. Again, red micarta, red canvas micarta handle. Okay, the next one here, this is green canvas micarta, and it was made in 2020. And this was offered through Buck. Let me see if I can get that light just right there. And this one has S35VN with the Boz heat treatment, of course. And this is part of the Pro series. So Buck came out with, well, with a lot of their knives. They have just the standard version, the Select series, which would be a 420HC, and then they came out with Pro series, which would have upgraded steels. And so the green canvas micarta, although it looks brown, they call it green canvas. It's available in a lot of the different knives, such as the 119 and the 105 and that. So if you're looking for one of their hunting knives with an upgraded steel, why, check out the Buck website and you can see the Pro series. And then lastly here on the right here, this was made in 2021 and it has D2 steel. D2 steel. Buck USA 105. And there's a shot at the tang stamp there. This one was a gift from the Kirby Creek outfit. And I did a video on this thanking him, and wow, what a nice addition to my collection. I don't know how many of these 102s I'm going to get. This is the dilemma in collecting the Buck knives that I'm facing, and I try to concentrate on them. There's so many bright, shiny knives out there, it's hard to stay focused on one. So not only do you have to, you know, collect the different hundreds of models of Buck knives, but collecting a series within one model number and seeing the different changes and the different steels and that, you can see, well, there's always more want than there is money in the wallet. So, but this is a very fine sub collection that I think I have started here with the 102s, and I want to try to get some more of them. Now we'll go over the sheaths here real quick, but hang on, I'm going to change the magnification here real quick. So the sheaths for the 100 series of fixed blades, they've changed over the years too. And they started out with this flap style, and it does not have a plastic liner in it. I don't know if the liner's missing or if they just didn't come with plastic liners. I'm thinking they did not, but they always did have the model number stamped into the back of it. So this is for the early version right here, and I am not sure when they changed over from the flap to, I guess what you would say, the wraparound style, where it wraps around the handle. Now this one is for this one from 98, and you can see it is brown. And it also has the old Buck logo in there. It says Buck, and then there's like a mountainside there. Not sure how good that's going to show up. That's the old Buck Outdoors logo, kind of in a triangle. So that's the wraparound flap. And then on the rest of these, it's just the standard black flap. Has Buck on it. These all do have plastic liners in them, and they do have a drain hole, and of course they got the model number on the back. So these last three sheaths are just the standard black sheath that these knives come in. Alrighty, that kind of wraps it up here on the Buck 102 Woodsman, and we will move on to the 105. Here's the Buck 105 Pathfinder. Now, it is a clip point blade, but you can see it's a little bit different shape. on the tip there. Has a swedge on both sides, which is, I guess, what's making it a clip point, but it is a little different blade shape here. I have two versions of this. Again, this is the black phenolic, and I hope I'm pronouncing that word right. But again, this is an older one. This was made between 67 and 72, so I believe it to have the 440C steel. This is kind of a special run. I think Buck made here a couple years ago. It's got the Cocobolo handle and the brass pommel and guard to it. Just a really handsome looking knife. I really like this knife. There's pros and cons to every one of these models as far as the blade length, blade shape. I know some people prefer the 105 over the 102. So it really does get into personal preference. Of course, the 105 is just a little bit bigger and it gives you a little bit bigger handle here. Especially if you have larger hands, the 102 might be a little small in the hand. But again, it's up to personal choice. Again, we can see between the older and the newer versions, the difference in the pommel there. This one is much more blockier and is a little bit bigger. Try to get a comparison there. Also, the spacers on these older ones, Buck used brown micarta for their spacers. And actually you can see you've got 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So you have 4 micarta spacers. And on the newer ones here, you can see you've got 1 black spacer here and 1 black spacer down here. So lots of little subtle changes over the years. At the end of this video, I'll try to put all the knives together so you can get a size comparison. I just want to go through and show the models first, and then of course with the older Pathfinder here, you've got the flap over sheath with the model number on it, and the model number is actually stamped up here in the belt strap, which is something I just noticed. And with this kind of I guess limited run, special run of these here, it came in the black sheath, Buck logo there, and it's got the 105 stamped down into the actual sheath itself instead of up here on the belt strap. That's something I just noticed. Yeah. That's the fun thing about collecting these. Every time I handle them, it seems like I see something new. Like I just noticed, it's very light, but it's got Buck stamped up in here too. The things you notice every time you handle them. So anyway, there is the Buck 105 Pathfinder. Now we're moving along to perhaps one of my more interesting knives out of this series. This is the Buck 116 Caper. So Buck did make a caping knife. And as you can see, the tang stamp is inverted. However, it is 3-line, so it does have the model number with it. Right there. That would mean this knife was manufactured somewhere between 1972 and 1986. There is still no, it was after 86 when I think when they started putting the date symbols on there. So 3-line, but it is inverted. And as we saw with the old 105 Pathfinder, there's 4 sets of brown micarta, 1, 2, and 3 and 4, if that shows up. What's interesting, this knife is no longer made, and I don't know when they stopped making the caper, but it is no longer made. I'm not sure. I didn't look it up. I'm gonna have to check and see what the blade shape was that they considered this one. As you can see, it was well used. It was a short knife, but it has a full-size handle, but the small blade for caping. Another interesting aspect is when I put it side by side with the 105 Pathfinder, it looks like they used the very same handle. So, same handle, but just a different blade to it. You can still find these occasionally on eBay. I was fortunate enough to find this one in an antique store. The bad thing was it did not have the original sheath with it. The sheath that it came in was a different buck sheath. It wasn't the right sheath. And this is when I really, really got to know John at J.O. Ventures Outdoors, because he made me this side draw sheath for it with a nice buck on it. So here's an example of his early work. And I did do a video on this. We did a video collaboration where I did a review on the knife and then sent it to him, and then he made the sheath for it. So, yeah, John has just, well, his sheath making, his leather work has just got better and better and better over time. And I still do appreciate this. I have worn this. It's very comfortable. Fits right in the small of my back. It's not too big to where it digs into my back when I'm, driving the car down the road and such. So just a very comfortable way to carry this knife. So once again, this is the Buck 116 Caper. Next in line here, we have the Buck 117 Brahma. Now, this is one of the most confusing models for me to research. I don't know, when I originally bought this, I got this 2 or 3 years ago, if this knife was a special edition run or not. The confusing part is this is named the Brahma, but a few years back they came out with a stacked leather version with a round pommel, kind of like a fighting knife style, and it had a more of like a combat sheath to it, and they called that the Little Brahma. And then they came out with a special edition of the 119, again with the stacked leather and more like a fighting knife style, and they named that the Big Brahma. So the box this came in said Brahma on it. So this knife now has come out in 2023. It is in the 2023 catalog, and it is named the Brahma. Interesting enough, I didn't see it on the Buck website yet, so I don't know if they're not ready to be sold yet or not, but they do appear in the catalog. I know a lot of people have been wondering about the 117. It's a beautiful little knife. It's kind of the little brother to the 119 Special. It's in between the 102. They used to call the 102 the little brother to the 119, but this is kind of like the son, and the 102 kind of like the grandson of the 119. So this one does feature a fuller, just like the 119 does. But it is smaller in size. Now I do wear, I guess, large to extra large gloves. So I can get a good purchase on this knife. It is a good, 4-finger grip on there. And this is an interesting little knife. I really like it. It's a sleek design. Again, kind of a smaller 119 Special. I do know that Kirby Creek Outfit this year, in doing his challenges, he's been using the 117. So you need to go check out his channel and see how he gets a lot of use out of this knife. So this is the 117 Brahma. We now move up one more number to the 118, and this is a Buck 118 Personal. Now, it does have a little different blade shape to it. They do call this a clip point blade. I would say it's a modified clip point blade. As you see with this blade, it's kind of upswept here. But they do still refer to it as a clip point. So it does have that swedge there. I guess that's what they're calling the clip on it anyway. So it's a much longer and slender knife. I think some people really like using this when they're processing deer. That seems to be the reviews I see on it. They think it's a really nice skinning knife for deer. So anyway, this is the Buck 118 Personal. This knife probably doesn't need too much of an introduction, but it is the Buck 119 Special. And this is kind of a special one. I bought it at Walmart, and it is the 75th anniversary version of the 119 Special. And even on the sheath here, it says 119 Special 75. Now, I went to Walmart here several years ago when I first got, into collecting knives and buck knives in particular. And I told Mrs. Knife Delights one night, I says, I need to get me a 119. No self-respecting buck collector doesn't have a 119 Special in their collection. So I went to the showcase. They had them displayed. I said I wanted one of the 119s, and the guy got behind the counter and pulled out a box, and lo and behold, it wasn't displayed. It was just a plain one displayed, but there was one of these left. So I was very fortunate in getting one of these with the 75th anniversary. So the Buck 119 Special, that classic Fuller there. And I'll take this time now. We'll do one little comparison. I talked about the 117 being the baby brother or the son or whatever of the 119. So there's a good side-by-side comparison. So the Buck 119 Special. What more can I say? We're going to finish up with a special knife here. This is the only knife not in the 100 series of fixed blades that I'm showing here today. This is the Buck 212, and it's the fixed blade Ranger. So it has this wonderful Cocobolo handle to it. When these came out, there was a special run of these. I think this is one of like 350 or something like that. And it's kind of part of, I think it was kind of sort of part of their Legacy series. I'm not quite sure, but they did come out, and it does have the old style sheath, the belt through sheath. And this one is made in the USA, but it's just got the black distressed leather here. Very old school. Now, I don't know the history behind the 212. I don't know when they were made, how many were made. I think currently on the Buck website, if you go to their web specials or their Legacy series, they do have a version of this, and it's running around $300 if I remember correctly, $250 to $300. Kind of a special knife, but I was pretty fortunate. They came out with the announcement on this one here 2 or 3 years ago, and by the time I got my money saved up, I figured they'd all be sold out, but lo and behold, I was able to get one. So there you go. There is the 212 fixed blade Ranger. Again, it's a good full handle on there, so you get a good purchase on it, but it does have the shorter blade, and that's something I kind of like. A knife with a full handle but a shorter blade. For me, it's a lot easier to control. Has that really nice clip point there too. So the Buck 212 fixed blade Ranger. Well, as I wrap up this video here, I just thought I'd kind of lay them all out. One of each model here, just to kind of give you a difference, give you the perception and the difference in size and the blade styles. So we have the 102 next to the 105, the 116 Caper, the 117, the 118, the 119, and the 212. So there you have it. I certainly hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I had fun making it. It's a lot of fun to break out the collection and just lay it all out and look at it. So until next time, everyone, have a very delightful day.